So when we last left off here, the Autobots, or at least the Autobots Predacons here, had engaged with the Combaticons, and so they were fighting evenly at first until the Combaticons combined into Bruticus. And so, utilizing their Decepticon engineering, now that they trust Dreadwing a lot more now in this timeline, they are able to successfully hack into some of Shockwave's older systems and discover the Combiner program. And so, with that being said here, Ratchet thus begins to work on the Predacons that they have here. And so, with that being said here, we now pick up with the episode -1. The Autobots themselves are looking for an edge over the Decepticons. Meanwhile, same can be said for the Decepticons as well here. They're looking for an edge over the Autobots. Yes, they have the Combaticons. Yes, they have Predaking, Skylynx, and Darksteel. But again, with the Autobots having Grimlock and them now having their Predacons as well here, or we're just gonna straight up call them the Monsterbots now. Yes, I have seen your comment section, or yes, I do look at the comments, obviously, excuse me, and I do think the Monsterbots will actually be a pretty good name for them, considering it's a callback to the original Predacons that the Autobots actually made and called the Monsterbots. So, let's actually keep that name, shall we? So, right now, they're looking for an edge here. Meanwhile, Ratchet is working on Hunger, Blight, Twin Strike, Ripper Snapper, and Windrazor, all trying to give them the proper components or the proper materials needed for making them a combiner, with the assistance of Wheeljack. Considering Wheeljack is still a lot more intelligent in this one here, I think it would actually be reasonable for him to, excuse me, help out Ratchet in this situation. Plus, this just has more hands on deck. Meanwhile, you could have someone like Smokescreen, RC, and Bulkhead go out and get certain materials from the Harbinger still, because again, they still do have access to it. Now, with that being said here, this is where Optimus, Grimlock, and Ultra Magnus are actually discussing a strategy that would actually work here. Keep in mind, again, Grimlock is one of Optimus' lieutenants. Ultra Magnus is also one of his lieutenants as well here. So I think it would be beneficial for them to actually, talk this out here. With the addition of RC here, which I think they would actually invite, considering she has the more, I'll probably say, qualities of being a lieutenant. Meanwhile, you could actually say Bumblebee's out on a scouting mission, or just, hanging out with Raph and the kids for right now. So with that being said here, what are they talking about here? Well, the four of them are actually talking about what if they captured a Decepticon. To which Grimlock says, didn't Dreadwing kill Starscream? To which Dreadwing would arrive would actually arrive back from his scouting mission. Yeah, I did kill Starscream out of revenge for my brother. And he asks them, what are they talking about? To which Grimlock and RC both inform him that they're talking about a possible way to capture Decepticon, find out what they're planning, and just hopefully end it right then and there. To which Dreadwing would say, okay, well, there are not many options. To which, really thinking about it here, they will actually think that the best Decepticon to actually get would be Knockout, but they would actually have to plan it accordingly. And so when they find out the Decepticons are attacking a military base and stuff like that there, they then pretty much just enact on it. However, the Monsterbots are still back at base. Meanwhile, the team that's actually sent there will be Optimus, Ultra Magnus, Grimlock, Dreadwing, RC, Bumblebee, and Bulkhead, with Soundwave and Predaking, along with Skylynx and Darksteel, leading the Decepticon attack on this military base here. Seeing that they have Predacons here, the Autobots decide to try to divide up and conquer, with Optimus and Dreadwing taking to the skies to pursue Soundwave, while the Autobots are under Grimlock's command, and they both, they all attack the Predacons here. And this is where we actually get to see Grimlock versus Predaking. Predaking dives at Grimlock, who turns into his Dinobot form and actually waits. He waits for Predaking to get just close enough for him to sidestep, grab Predaking by the wing, and slam him to the ground here. Meanwhile, Skylynx and Darksteel are engaging with the rest of the Autobots here. Ultra Magnus and Bumblebee focus on Skylynx. Keep in mind, Ultra Magnus still has the Forge here, so he is able to get a lot of damage in, and with Bumblebee providing a decent distraction, they're able to keep Skylynx on the back foot. Meanwhile, Darksteel is engaging with Bulkhead and RC. Bulkhead's strength should be enough to at least withstand, block some of Darksteel's charges, with RC getting in a few jabs and cuts in when she can here. But let's focus on the fight you came here for, Grimlock versus Predaking. After Grimlock slams Predaking to the ground, Predaking uses his tail to whip Grimlock off of his wing here, and then proceeds to try and pounce and bite on him. Considering Grimlock is a lot more bulkier than Predaking, he's able to quickly get up and then charge, or at least shoulder bash Predaking off of him here. This is when the two both circle each other and growl at one another. Back in the air, we do have Optimus and Dreadwing pretty much just dogfighting against Soundwave and Laserbeak respectively. Back on the ground here, Grimlock and Predaking both charge at each other, jaws wide open and breathing fire. As they get closer, the pressure of the fire builds and builds and builds until it just blows up, sending both of them back and pretty much causing them to land so hard that they actually have to transform. To which Grimlock says it's been a while since he's actually fought a worthwhile opponent. To which Predaking says that he's heard plenty of stories from the Decepticons about how powerful and dangerous you are. So it's time to see who's the real king of beasts here. To which, as they both charge at each other, it becomes apparent that when they clash, they're even in strength here. Or at least at first. As they both press into each other and dig their feet into the ground, Grimlock's much more heavier mass begins to take effect here. And he begins to slowly, in inch by inch, overtake Predaking. And Predaking, again, is able to push back some, but Grimlock's anger is driving him here. The anger he gets, the stronger he gets. As again, as Shockwave stated, much of his rage is dedicated to completely obliterating his enemy, and it allows him to actually get a physical strength increase along the way as well. This was actually demonstrated in Fallen Cybertron, where a prepared Shockwave have calculated for Grimlock's strength up until that point, but when he got angry, he got strong enough to overpower these restraints that, again, were already calculated and set to a level that he had previously been at throughout the entirety of the Fallen Cybertron game, or the more he progressed here. And so he reached a new level of strength with his anger, to which I think the same thing would happen here. And so Predaking, realizing he has no other choice here, headbutts Grimlock to get him off him, and so the two begin scrapping. Predaking unfortunately gets absolutely whipped in a hand-to-hand fight type of scenario. Grimlock is still a warrior, a trained warrior. Meanwhile, Predaking is not. And again, I think this would again show on the sheer fact that when Optimus fought Predaking, he was landing a lot more hits. And this is because, again, Predaking is not trained. Predaking is not skilled. Predaking has basically no hands. It's basically like it's like Mike Tyson going up against a street fighter. You know, there's no comparison here. Prime Mike Tyson is about to decimate some random street fighter that just throws punches and kicks and just hopes to overpower his opponent. Okay, there is a big difference here. And so, with that being said here, Grimlock not only defeats Predaking, but he flat out grabs him, throws him into Skylinks and Darksteel respectively, and then transforms and pounces on all three of them, telling the Autobots to go in and engage Prime. To which he grabs Darksteel mid-air, mind you. Darksteel jumps out of mid-air. Grimlock grabs him, and he straight up slams him with so much force on top of Skylinks' head that it knocks them out. To which we then have the rest of the Autobots go in and try to engage with Soundwave, to which they are able to successfully capture him, and Soundwave now has a lot more injuries than in canon here. Because again, more Autobots, more firepower. He's still alive, obviously. They want him alive here. But again, he has sustained a lot more damage than the original here. To which, when they drag him back, Grimlock then just simply gives a look at the Predacons and just simply leaves with a prideful and satisfied smirk under his, oh well, you know, I guess you could say the best he can with smirk, because again, he does have a faceplate for a face, I guess. But anyway, when they get back to base, the Predacons immediately hang their head low as Megatron is absolutely livid on the sheer fact that Soundwave was captured. But he then relaxes, saying that he won't spill anything. Arachnid also agrees that, yeah, he wouldn't spill anything. They really aren't, you know, they're not knockout. To which Knockout does take offense to it and says, well, you guys kind of do have a point then. And to which, at that point, they now have to figure out what is Megatron planning. And so Dreadwing does propose, a bit more drastic measures than anything. However, this is one thing that they should have did, and they actually should have, kept doing, in my opinion here. And that was actually put Soundwave in a stasis lock. Okay? There's no reason for them to be discussing what to do with Soundwave if he's still conscious enough to hear it. Meaning we don't get Soundwave's whole, Autobots superior, or, Soundwave superior, Autobots inferior, and stuff like that. No, we do not get that here. Because, again, Soundwave's unconscious at the moment in the stasis lock. And so, they actually do begin discussing whether or not they need to, crack him open. To which Grimlock says he would love to do that to Shockwave more than anybody. But for right now, they do have to tolerate it. And to which, at this time, Hunger, Twin Strike, Blight, Ripper Snapper, and Windrazor all awaken. And they actually look, I guess you could say, a bit more bulkier than the original, because again, this is apparently a thing with combiner components here. They actually do look a bit more stockier and bulkier than their normal cells here. Matter of fact, if you can look at Brawl in a way from Fall of Cybertron or from War for Cybertron to Fall of Cybertron, he looks somewhat different, a bit more heavier than before. So, with that being said, I don't think the Monsterbots would actually be too different, but their noticeable bulk, because they're, again, Predacon-based combiners, would actually be noteworthy. To which Grimlock actually congratulates his children and pretty much steps out with them so that they could actually train that form here. And to which he tells them, alright, combine. And to which everyone gets in position and, they combine flawlessly on their first try. However, again, they are still trying to get used to the form and, they actually tried to decide on a name. To which Grimlock says they look abominable. And to which they put 5 and 5 together, because, 5 Predacons, 5, technically it's more than one head, because Twin Strike has 2, and Hunger has 2 as well, but you guys get what I mean here. And so, they put that together and said they're going to call themselves Abominus, to which Grimlock actually applauds his children and says that now they're going to learn how to fight in their combiner form, to which it is a bit comedic at first with them trying to perform well, but again, Grimlock is trying to teach them to how to use their weight and now their vastly superior strength. Basically, he's training them not to fight like their usual selves, but instead to fight smarter and to utilize their physical strength to their advantage. So, that being said here, while he's doing that here, the Autobots are still discussing whether or not they want to really break open Soundwave. Do they really want to use more modern-day Decepticon tactics? To which Dreadwing actually smiles at this remark from Bulkhead and Wheeljack and actually nods, actually appreciating the fact that, again, they understand what he embodied. And again, this would actually show the growth between Wheeljack and Dreadwing respectively here, as well as the Wreckers in general. And I actually think that with a little bit of push and consideration, they would actually employ a critical psychic patch. Yeah, a little bit ruthless, even for the Autobots here, but they're not going to do it to peer into Soundwave's mind. They're going to do it to extract information from it, to which they hook him up to at least a Decepticon-like computer, and they're able to extract information from him while he is unconscious. To which they actually find out that Megatron is actually rebuilding the Omega Lock a lot earlier in this timeline, and, he plans to steal Cyberform Earth and, restore Cybertron at the same time here. To which Dreadwing says, okay, then that leaves us with one more problem. Where do we find the warship? To which they actually use one of Soundwave's, they look deeper into Soundwave's memories and actually find his Space Bridge catalogs. And so, with that being said here, they have the coordinates and the moving patterns of the Decepticon warship. And so, with that being said here, they now prepare themselves here. But here's the thing. they now have to figure out what is their game plan. To which this would actually be a comedic moment for the ground to start rumbling and everyone just falls to their feet or falls to the ground, as when everyone runs outside, they find Abominus just laying flat out on his back here, just, you know, comedically in fashion, with Grimlock face palming himself saying that he didn't tell them to do that exactly. To which RC would scold him and Ultramactus would tell him that, okay, I think that's enough for today. We probably won't need it as it is here. To which Grimlock would ask them why and says that they now have the coordinates for the Decepticon warship. And to which Grimlock would smile. He would be like, really? Really? Oh my gosh, I can't wait to get my hands on that one-eyed monster for what he's done to me and my team. Speaking of which, this is where Grimlock actually runs to the communication station and he contacts Slug. This is where he contacts his fellow Dinobots and has them come to Earth for they can finally have their revenge on Shockwave. To which a space bridge opens and this is where Slug, Snarl, Swoop, and Sludge all walk out and they are ready to decimate here. To which the group actually gets mingled and, well, I guess you could say, actually gets used to the Monsterbots and actually like them almost immediately. Actually kind of having a, I guess you could say, an uncle and nephew type relationship without the Diddy stuff. You guys know what I mean. But anyway, with that being said, with the Autobots now having more beast power than before, they now open a space bridge and board the Decepticon warship, with the Dinobots and the Monsterbots coming out first in all of their beast forms respectively, and they start tearing through the Decepticons and Insecticon drones, to which all the Decepticons are now off guarded by this. They did not expect this at all here. Then the Autobots come through, Dreadwing, Ultra Magnus, Wheeljack, and Bulkhead, all pretty much blasting through another part of the warship, making their way to the weapons vault. I also find it kind of dumb that the Autobots really didn't secure the weapons vault first, considering not only did it have the Star Saber, but it also had the Dark Star Saber, meaning that Megatron won't be making his way in order to get to the Dark Star Saber. So that way the Wreckers, and I guess you could say Smokescreen as well, along with Dreadwing, actually secure the weapons vault area. This is where Arachnid, who still holds the Apex armor on her like a switch, dons her armor, and Megatron tells the Combaticons and everyone that this will be their last stand. And so, with that being said here, the Decepticons and Autobots have their final battle, with some of them being pushed towards the Omega Lock. And this is actually where Shockwave actually dies here, to which I would definitely have it be where the Dinobots basically tear their way through, they start pushing around the Predacons, and so, when the Monsterbots jump in and pin down Predaking, Skylynx, and Darksteel, Grimlock and his team bull rush Shockwave, who's blasting at them frantically, and each one grabs Shockwave by a part of his body, and they say, let's see how you like it when you're ripped apart, over and over again. And to which, well, that's exactly what happens. They rip Shockwave to pieces. And while Shockwave isn't screaming here, he is definitely in some kind of agonizing pain, to which this even leaves some of the more aggressive and reckless Autobots a bit shocked by this, like, holy crap, did they just rip him apart? And it's basically a heck yeah at that point. And to which I think Megatron will be a lot more coordinated now with Optimus, and in all honesty, I would actually have Dreadwing make his way towards Megatron himself, and, well, he would actually begin to fight against Megatron one-on-one. And to which I definitely think there is some, I guess you could say, worthy dialogue here, with Megatron asking Dreadwing, how could you? How could you betray me after all I've given you? To which Dreadwing says, the original you gave me everything. Honor, pride, a cause to call my own, a cause worth fighting for. But this you right here, this is not the Megatron I followed. the one who wanted freedom for everyone, but didn't care if he had to get his hands dirty in order to do it. And so you fell and became a tyrant, to which Megatron grits his teeth and actually is able to overpower Dreadwing for a moment and actually points his fusion cannon at him here. However, this is where Wheeljack comes in with the meanest clutch and actually throws his sword into Megatron's fusion cannon, disabling it here. This leaves Megatron in nothing more than a sword here. But before Dreadwing can get his cannon out, Megatron kicks it off into space. And then we have a sword versus sword fight with Dreadwing and Megatron. The back and forth is absolutely amazing, with the Autobots actually respecting Dreadwing's honor and appreciating the one-on-one here. To which Dreadwing says, "You'll always be an alone, Megatron, surrounded by those who are loyal to you out of fear or respect for your power, not respect for who you are or for even who you were." And this is where I would definitely say Dreadwing cuts Megatron's arm off and then stabs him right through the spark, right then and there. To which Dreadwing says, "You were unworthy of being called a Decepticon." And with those final words, Dreadwing thrusts his sword deeper through Megatron's Dark Energon spark, actually destroying it completely. And this would actually be the end of Megatron. Arachnid, seeing this, would then go to retreat. The Combaticons, however, being surrounded at this moment, actually surrender themselves, not wanting to not only be killed or being munched alive by the, Monsterbots and Dinobots here. And so, with that being said here, the Autobots definitely go back to Cybertron with their Decepticon prisoners. But you might say, what about Arachnid here? Well, she still needs to be subdued, right? Nope, not really. I could see Arachnid definitely retreating, and, well, I would say during the retreat, the Apex armor is actually knocked away from her by Bumblebee, and RC pretty much kicks her so hard that she has no choice but to transform and flee with the remaining Insecticons. And so, with that being said here, the Autobots now have to deal with possibly that in the future. But right now, they've won. Knockout surrenders as well here because, again, he was hiding. And so they actually take the Autobot warship, now the Decepticon warship, right? They actually take it back to Cybertron. And so they now have to remake the synthetic energon formula. To which I think actually having Knockout do it, along with Ratchet, this gives Knockout a chance at redemption. And so he actually likes working with Ratchet, actually likes working with the Autobots here. And so Knockout is now given his chance at redemption, and the Autobots restore Cybertron. This is where Dreadwing would then approach the Combaticons in their prison chamber, asking them if they want another chance to be worthy of the name Decepticons. To which one of the few original Decepticon members, Onslaught, actually considers this. And he looks to his team and tells them they're taking the deal. And so, with that being said here, Cybertron is now restored, Megatron is dead, Arachnid is on the loose here, and Cybertron can now be born anew. And that's where we're going to leave it off here today, you guys. Please comment down below, like and subscribe and share with your friends. This is Legendary Grimlock, and we have about 2 more episodes left. Peace.